Particularly, our recommendation with respect to this is to improve the reporting around the investigations in the performance report. So specifically in terms of them needing to elaborate, in terms of the number of investigations that have been undertaken, and essentially to give a report, in terms of whether the investigation has been finalized, whether it's delayed, and essentially whether the recommendation has been implemented by the accounting officer. So it's around deepening the reporting around the investigations with the view to ensure that essentially when you have the likes of legislatures, when you have the likes of interested readers looking at the report on performance information, it will have a greater appreciation in terms of the extent of consequence management that's been taken with a view to ensure that action is being taken in terms of the investigations that are undertaken from a provincial point of view. So those are the two recommendations that are coming through in terms of the AGSA reports, in terms of OTP being a coordinating ministry. On the next slide, it's with respect to performance information in terms of the achievement of the performance against predetermined objectives, in terms of the targets that are reported upon. This one particularly is with respect to the achievement of the performance information against the budget spent. You'll see that around this area, the achievement had not been fully aligned with the budget spending in terms of the department. And in terms of this one, we just indicated to the department that it needs to ensure that there's strong correlation between the budget spent as well as achievement of the target. So it's specifically with respect to the number of reports around provincial investigations where the planned target had been 4 and the reported achievement had only been 1. And the department has indicated that this was attributed largely to vacancies in the Provincial Forensic Investigations Unit. And that has now been fulfilled in terms of them filling those vacancies in that unit. So again, we implore the department around this to ensure that there is strong correlation between target achievement as well as spending in terms of the performance information. On the next slide, you have the internal control deficiencies. We didn't identify any. And in terms of the material irregularities, we did not identify any in the department. On the next slide, this is on the investigations in terms of the department, just to bring to the committee's attention that we did identify in terms of the disclosures around the investigations. There had been 7 of these investigations as at March, as at the end of the financial year when we conducted our audit, and we had 4 of the investigations had been completed, while 3 of them were still in progress at the date of our auditor's report. In terms of this one, it's just to bring up to speed in terms of the accounting developments that have come through from the National Treasury, just to ensure that the department improves its controls around these, with the view to ensure that there's no material misstatements that do come through from these developments. It does surround areas such as inventories, componentization of assets, and we just indicate that these need to be the department would need to ensure that controls are in place to prevent any material misstatements that might create setbacks in terms of the audit outcomes. On the next slide, we just have some recommendations that have been presented through to the Director General in terms of obtaining and soliciting commitments around these. So it's around specifically in terms of the performance information, specifically indicating that we are aware that in terms of the key departments from a provincial point of view, such as education, health, transport, public works, the department does conduct a number of site visits with a view to determine essentially whether flagship projects are progressing as anticipated. And we indicated to the department essentially it would need to bring some form of reporting specifically around these site visits that it undertakes into the performance report, so that the reader of the performance report can get some insights and appreciation, in terms of the oversight that the Office of the Premier is exercising over these key service delivery departments. And it's also important to highlight the provincial state of infrastructure, in terms of these visits that the Office of the Premier undertakes, and to report on these in terms of the performance information that does come through. And then in terms of the other commitments, it's around the emphasis on matter that we've reported in our report, specifically in terms of the reconciliations, to just obtain a commitment that the Director General does speed up in terms of expediting the reconciliation process around those differences that we've identified between the two asset registers that have been maintained by the department. And then in terms of the commitment that we relayed to the Premier, it's specifically around improving the oversight over provincial treasury as well as COGTA, with the view to ensure that these two constituencies fulfill their mandated functions in terms of improving the audit outcomes of the province, and with the view to ensure that there's some sort of performance reporting coming through from these two departments through to the Premier, so that there's greater oversight and proactive measures or rather in terms of improving the local government landscape as well as the provincial government landscape. And then in terms of the other commitment was to improve the implementation of the district development model together with the Operation Sukuma Sake program that the Office of the Premier has in place, with a view to strengthen intergovernmental coordination in terms of the three spheres of government. And then the other areas to improve, to include the HOD of COGTA in the Provincial Operation Clean Audit Committee, with a view to ensure that there's greater oversight in terms of the local government audit outcomes, and to improve in terms of strengthening the coordination around those municipalities that are in financial distress, or essentially where the audit outcomes are essentially not improving. So those are the commitments that we did share with a view to ensure that there's greater oversight and coordination from the Premier's standpoint. With that said, Honourable Chair, that's a presentation that I have prepared for this morning, and I'll stop at this point if there's any areas that do need any further clarification. Thanks.
Thanks, Sudesh. Colleagues, I'm just checking, are there any questions or clarities, or can we hold these until we go to the presentation on DST? It's entirely up to you. What would you prefer?
I'm happy.
Okay, who is that, please? I can see we've
Sorry, Chair. It's Honourable Rabe.
Okay,
I'm happy to proceed.
Okay.
Honourable Shinga, I will support that we proceed.
Thanks, Honourable Shinga. Look, it's a pretty straightforward audit outcome here. The areas that have been raised, and we must appreciate them, are areas we will raise with the department, but there are no material findings or anything of the sort, but these are things which the broader role of the Office of the Premier has to cover as well. So it's important. And as SCOPA, one of the reasons we wanted to bring them is that we wanted feedback in particular on investigations, consequence management, because that's something that we feel is deficient, and that we were a bit concerned about underspending as well. All right. So, colleagues, seeing that there are no issues that you wish to raise with the AG, obviously we will raise with the department. Let's go to the Department of Social Development. Let me also welcome the Deputy Business Executive, Merusha Vatha, who's with us, and the rest of your team, whom I may not have acknowledged. Let me then hand over to whoever is doing that presentation on DSD, Social Development, who also received an unqualified but with findings. I'm not sure who's doing that presentation.
Good morning, Honourable Chair. It's Tamaran Modley, Senior Manager from the Auditor General's Office. I will be doing the presentation. Yes.
Good morning, Tamaran. Okay, you can proceed. We can see it's flighted on the screen already.
Thank you so much. So, good morning to Honourable Chair, Honourable Members, I think Provincial Audit and Risk Committee, all protocols observed. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to brief you all on audit outcomes for Department of Social Development for the 22-23 year. My colleague has flighted certain slides like the mission and the vision. I've also included our AGSA Culture Shift 2030 strategy, just for your noting. He has explained the accountability ecosystem. I'm not going to dwell too much in that. I think in terms of the accountability ecosystem, specifically with the accounting officer and the senior management, we found that the accounting officer and senior management did not exercise adequate oversight and controls to confirm consequence management is timely implemented. Payments are made within the required timelines and that irregular expenditure is prevented. We also had challenges around proper document management system to support procurement and contract management. In terms of the audit committee and internal audit, we found that in terms of their roles and responsibilities in the accountability ecosystem, they have fulfilled it. In terms of the trend in audit outcomes, I must say that the department has sustained or maintained their unqualified opinion with findings on compliance. So even with regards to performance information, in the current year, we included an additional program, which was not scoped in the previous 2 years. However, it's commendable that the department is producing credible and reliable performance reports. There has been a regression in the area of compliance. As you can see, expenditure management is something where the department is actually struggling with. Procurement and contract management, as indicated, has been a regression from the prior year. And consequence management, specifically with regards to investigations into irregular expenditure and fruitless and wasteful expenditure, is not being completed timeously. In terms of the financial health, the financial status of the department has deteriorated from the previous year. The department is still able to continue operating as a going concern. Specifically, we are noting the creditor's payment period has doubled from 23 days to 44 days in the current year. We're obviously saying that it's indicative of probably further fruitless and wasteful expenditure being incurred as a result of interest being charged by suppliers on overdue accounts. The current year activities has resulted in a bank balance that is in overdraft, and the current cash shortfalls will require funding from next year's budget. This, together with that poor management of accruals and payables, could potentially hinder the department's abilities to implement next year's plan activities. So basically, it appears that the department is as much as they're utilizing their budget 100%, they are dipping into the next year's budget if you start having and drilling down in terms of accruals and payables not recognized in their financial statements. In terms of procurement and contract management, I think this is something that requires significant improvement. As I said, there was a regression. We found there was lack or inadequate documentation to support consistent functionality scoring by the bid evaluation committee and also subsequent review by the bid adjudication committee prior to awarding or recommending for award. Minutes of BAC meetings in some cases were not complete and detailed, and with respect to committee scoring and key considerations made to enable transparency and reperformance. Their document management system, specifically with supply chain management, has to be improved, significantly improved, as that is the only point of defense in terms of confirming compliance with the SCM prescripts in the event that the department is challenged legally and also from an audit perspective to give us the assurance that they have complied in all respects with the SCM prescripts. An improvement in controls is urgently required to limit the exposure of the current system to manipulation and abuse, including fraud. In terms of irregular expenditure, although the department has taken significant steps to to appoint service providers. I think if just the background of the department, they did have expired contracts, specifically with security and catering, that was extended year on year, and they were making payments. They have managed in the current year to finalize some of those contracts, those long-term contracts, specifically with security and catering. However, that didn't transpire to respond in time for the year under review, as there were further irregular expenditure being incurred in the current year on other contracts which expired. So in terms of the bigger picture, you can see procurement planning, procurement compliance is an issue within this department. And being a service delivery department, there's a lot of money that gets spent or procured on a year-on-year basis. Including consequence management. So as much as the regular expenditure has been incurred over the years, we found that the department didn't respond to perform these investigations into the prior irregular expenditure in a timely manner. And so that's something that maybe the committee could stress on and probably dwell on in terms of investigations into irregular expenditure and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Fruitless and wasteful expenditure is quite is not material in terms of the amount, but obviously from a committee perspective, and we obviously try to dwell down into it to ensure that monies are not being spent in vain. Majority of the fruitless and wasteful expenditure incurred was actually due to interest charge on overdue accounts, and that we can link to the compliance that payments are not made within 30 days, and obviously in terms of the financial health, where we are seeing deterioration in terms of how management is dealing with regards to their expenditure trends. Unauthorized expenditure and consequence management. They did not incur any unauthorized expenditure, which is quite commendable with regards to this department. They have also started the process for investigating the unauthorized expenditure, but it is still in progress, or was still in progress at the end. In terms of portfolio performance, there were no material findings to report. And as I indicated earlier, we commend the department for credible and reliable performance reporting, and also for achieving all of its planned targets set for the year on the programs that we selected for audit. Key infrastructure projects. So as part of our audit, we looked at infrastructure, and in terms of value add, we also visited some NPOs, as that is the core mandate or the core service that the department provides. We did a follow-up on Olsilweni Handicraft Center. This center was actually identified to be built for people living with disabilities. And we have identified, I just want to bring it to the attention of the committee, this is a project that has been implemented by Department of Public Works. It is not a project that is directly implemented by the department. We found that there was a failure by the project team to efficiently carry out their responsibilities to ensure that project deliverables were met by the first contractor. There were issues around a contractor being fired or terminated, and a new contractor being appointed. But we actually found that on review of the information that there was duplication of work and costs that were paid for in terms of the original contractor, and that amounted to in the region of 10 million rand, which we have brought to the attention of the department. There was also construction delays in terms of the project intended to benefit the people with disabilities. It took 5 years and 7 months delay in appointing another contractor to complete the project. and delays have been noted with only 12% of the work completed to date, although 50% of the time has been lapsed. So this is maybe something for the committee to note. Could be also something that you could pick up with Department of Public Works as being the implementing partner, but it obviously does not take the responsibility away from the department being the budget holder in order to monitor and hold Department of Public Works accountable for any work that they have authorized them to do on their behalf. The status of implementation, management has indicated, together with the Honorable MEC, that she will investigate it and probably implement, not probably, and recover those overpayments from the service provider that was identified. In terms of transfers to non-profit organizations, I think this is also an area that we definitely can be improved. So in terms of Department of Social Development, they provide funding to NPOs based on applications. We did a couple of visits. We found that funds transferred are not being utilized for the intended purposes. The safety of hygiene of residents have been compromised. I mean, look at the toilet facilities or the photo of the toilet facilities at one of the NPOs that we visited. We found that there's a lack of management oversight and managing and evaluating of NPOs in terms of the standard operating procedures, so the department can definitely improve in that. Infrastructure maintenance targets do not form part of the business plan in order to ensure structural sustainability of NPOs. So as much as money is being spent on supporting NGOs, we're finding that maybe as part of the visits, the department could actually even include infrastructure and probably provide and prioritize infrastructure in terms of supporting certain NGOs. If you don't have the infrastructure, how are you going to provide the service? Our recommendations to the department was include maintenance plans into business plans of NPOs. I think what's crucial is to regularly monitor the service officers to ensure that work is being carried out in accordance with the plan. And we looked at 3 NPOs as part of our visits, which is the Impenzle Flagship Program, the Mutanda Aged for Society, and Aryan Bolivian Home in Durban. And I think in terms of the nutshell is the department may be stressing in terms of as they are providing fundings to these NPOs is to do their regular visits to ensure that the monies are being spent for their relevant purposes or intended purposes. In terms of the disaster relief fund, in terms of the April 2022, the department spent 45 million in terms of providing care, protection, and support to the flood victims. We did review these expenditures as part of our audit processes. I must comment that there were no findings. In terms of the funds that were spent was 21 million for the appointment of 476 social workers, supervisors, and project managers that obviously assisted and provided social worker services to those that need affected by the floods. And 22.3 million was actually for the purchase and distribution of food vouchers. In terms of material irregularities, no materialities were identified during the 22-23 year audit. With regards to the fruitless and wasteful expenditure or overpayment, as Department of Public Works was the implementing partner, we found it prudent to actually engage directly with the Department of Public Works and consider issuing the MI to them directly as it all initiated or in terms of at that department. In terms of root causes, recommendations, and commitments, as I alluded to, inadequate oversight and monitoring controls for consequence management, payments being made within the legislated timelines, prevention of irregular expenditure, and quite important, the proper record keeping in place to support compliance with relevant SAM prescripts. We recommended that the county officer improve their oversight. Our meeting with the accounting officer and the Honorable MEC, the department is very committed. They have given us commitments, specifically in terms of the consequence management, and also to take proactive action to ensure that consequence management processes are implemented for that possible fruitless and wasteful expenditure identified with regards to Ozigweni Handicraft Arts Center. And honorable members, that is my presentation. I will pause for comments or questions of clarity from the committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Tamaran. At this point, let me also welcome the chairperson of the Social Development Portfolio Committee who's with us. And there are other members, of course, of SCOPA and the portfolio committees who have come in. I recognize Honorable Kaula, Honorable Tulu, Honorable Pako Rajbansi from the portfolio committee, as well as Honorable de Klerk, Honorable Shinga, and Honorable Ravi, who's filling in. Honorable Mchali, I've already recognized you, and Honorable Zulu. So the portfolio committee, the SCOPA is fully here. We have reps from the portfolio committees. So colleagues, this is the point where there are questions. If you have questions or issues for clarification, other issues that are operational and other stuff around that you will raise with the department, but these are questions of clarification to the AG. I'm not sure whether the Provincial Audit and Risk, Mr. Zulu, I see that you are here, whether you want to add in. There was both Office of Premier and Department of Social Development. If you wish to add before members have a bite.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, honorable members. One issue that we'd like to raise that we are dealing with is the issue of consequence management, which cuts across. That issue is being raised by AG. From our side, we are busy engaging the Office of the Premier with regards to that, because the forensic team doesn't report to us anymore. There are glitches here and there. We are still engaging the Office of the Premier to ensure that we comply with the regulations and legislations with regards to that, because we are expected to play oversight over that issue. With regards to the Office of the Premier, what has been raised with us by all other departments is the issue of the SITA with regards to IT. And we are also planning to have meetings. We've raised it with the Office of the Premier, but we have developed some approaches to ensure that we assist them now that our structure has been beefed up with a competent individual who is an IT and CA specialist. So that individual will assist the province, because we are at risk when it comes to cyber hacking. So we are paying attention to that one as well. I think other members may add. Or next, the other issue is the issue of, with the Office of the Premier that we are engaging them on, is the outcome indicators. We have realized over the year as we have been in office that our indicators and targets that we set for departments are not specific. Some of them are not measurable and they are not outcome based. So we are engaging the Office of the Premier also with regards to that. The other issue is the vacancies that are existing. We're thinking that and hoping that with the advert that went out, that all those areas were going to be resolved in terms of filling all the critical vacancies. And social development is one department that has been affected by that. But due to the cost cutting and the circular that came from National, we are not sure if everything will be done properly. Not that it's not going to be done properly. We acknowledge that the National Treasury also recommended that the critical vacancies must be considered and be filled. We'll try our best to monitor that process if it's done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zulu. Colleagues, I think you are making note of all these inputs. Okay, are there any questions of clarity? I think it's fairly clear. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands and I'm not cutting discussion. So what we will do is, Cabo, there's somebody who has raised their hand. I'm just trying to see who it might be. Is this Mr. Makatini? Who are you?
Good morning, Chair. It's Jabula Makatini. I just wanted to come in after my chair of PARC. I chair the OTP CAC.
Okay.
Covered me in most of the areas, but I just wanted to also just note that OTP has done well in maintaining its clean audits. And with the under expenditure that I heard the chair spoke about earlier, we are noting that this is a repeat finding, but there has been an improvement because in the previous year of assessments, the under expenditure was 56 million, and now we are at 13 million. As the CAC will continue to monitor this to ensure that the budget is fully spent. And again, I think Chair has touched on the concentration that we have on the coordinating role of OTP. This is where we'd want to assist. The SITA matter has been touched on. We did engage with SITA ourselves as PARC also. The department OTP did coordinate a meeting with the departments together with SITA to sort out the issues that they were having. But again, we need to implement and emphasize that the resolutions that were taken from that meeting, OTP needs to coordinate, and that's where we'll see the impact of sorting out all the matters that the departments were not happy with when it comes to SITA themselves. So, Chair, just without repeating, I just wanted to add there. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Ms. Makatini. Okay, colleagues, I'm not seeing any hands. So what I would suggest we do is we are seeing the department starting with social development at 10. I'd suggest that you take a short break and we'll come back at 10.
All right, thank you, Chair.
Siyathokoza yimina uPulu.
Thokoza koze kube nini.
Kusho mina uPulu siyathokoza. Kusho mina uthula kusho mina uthi wezixulu.
Ningeshwa nje. I'm sure nithokoza noma niphupha.
Kabo, do we have the department here?
Chair, I just want to confirm I'm now with you.
Thanks, Honorable de Klerk. Sorry, I did see you. I'm sorry, I didn't. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I just had an emergency, but I've dealt with it. Thank you so much.
Okay, fine. Hi, Kabo. Do we have the department with us now?
No, not yet. I didn't see any, but let me, I'm checking with the PLO. I'll come back to you now.
Okay, indicate as soon as they are here, please.
All right.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The department is in the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Is that Ms. Vilakazi? HOD?
Yes, Chairperson, thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Colleagues, department is here. I am aware that the MEC is on family bereavement leave, and that Honorable Fraser is the acting MEC. So I'm not sure whether she is joining us. HOD?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The Honorable Acting MEC is not with us because of another commitment that she has with the Deputy Minister of the Department of Basic Education this morning in Amajuba. That's the apology we received from her office. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Then but you have your team here, Ms. Vilakazi?
Yes, we have the team. We are ready for the meeting, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let me then open this meeting officially and welcome all of you to this hearing with the Department of Social Development. As has been said, we have a full complement in terms of the SCOPA membership. We also have here with us members of the Portfolio Committee and including the chairperson thereof. Officials from the Office of the Auditor General, as well as from the Provincial Audit and Risk Committee, and support from the provincial legislature as well. So there's a full house. Item 2 on the agenda, which is in front of us, attendance and apologies. We've already heard the apology from the acting MEC, Honorable Fraser, and that is noted. We have an apology from Honorable Rogers, who has substituted with Ms. Rabe, and the members of SCOPA who are going to come in a bit later are actually with us now. So we have Honorable de Klerk, etc. So we are duly constituted as SCOPA. So I'll go to item 4, HOD, which is affirmation or swearing of the oath by the accounting officer and whoever else is going to speak. Let's start with you, HOD, and then you can indicate which of the members will be speaking and will then take the oath or affirmation. I think you're aware that the oath or affirmation you take is I, with your name, do hereby swear to speak the truth, the whole truth, so help me God. If you're swearing an oath, if it's an affirmation, I, with your name, do hereby affirm that I will speak the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I do hereby affirm. So, HOD, let's hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, honorable members. I, Nelsiwe Vilakazi, the HOD in the Department of Social Development, hereby swear that I'm going to tell the truth and the truth, only the truth, and so help me God. Thank you. I, Nelsiwe Vilakazi, I affirm that I'm going to tell the truth and affirm that the information you're going to share with you is the truth. So help me, Lord. Thank you. I have the CFO with me as well.
Okay, actually, before you go off, can we just briefly see your face? Just open your video and then you can close it. And can each of the officials do the same thereafter? There we are. Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
So we know you are with us. Okay. Who is the next one who's going to swear or affirm?
It is going to be the Chief Financial Officer. We are introducing the new Chief Financial Officer in the Department of Social Development, who started on the 1st of June 2023, Mr. Senzo Zungu. Thank you. Zungu.
Thank you, Mr. Zungu. So can we please definitely see your face? You are most welcome. I think we're not able to see Mr. Zungu. Mr. Zungu, if you can just open your video.
Honorable Chair, I'm trying to open the video. I don't know what is happening.
Okay, but in the meantime, you can take the oath of affirmation, and when you speak the next time, hopefully we'll be able to see you. Take the oath of affirmation, please.
Thank you, Chair. I, Senzo Zungu, the CFO for the Department of Social Development, hereby swear that I will tell the truth, only the truth, so help me God.
Thank you. HOD, who else will be speaking? Is it just the two of you, or are there others?
Thank you very much. We have Mrs. Mhlongo, the DDG in the department, and Dr. Klaba, who is acting DDG.
Okay, so
Mrs. Mhlongo.
Yes. If Mrs. Mhlongo is not yet with us, can we get Dr. Klaba? Right, Dr. Klaba.
Greetings, Chairperson and members. My name is Dumisani Klaba, the Acting Deputy Director General in the Department of Social Development. I hereby swear that I will tell the truth, nothing else but the truth. So help me God. I also confirm that all that I will be saying will be the truth and nothing else but the truth. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Is Ms. Mhlongo here? Okay. Actually, what we'll do is when Ms. Mhlongo logs in and she's going to speak, we'll remember to get her to take the oath of affirmation. Okay. So actually, let's proceed to your presentation. And let me just say that we note that the department has received an unqualified audit with findings, and you have done so for the past 3 years. We are pleased with the outcome, but it's the findings that concern us. They are findings dealing with compliance. We must, and we've received your presentation. It has been circulated to members. You will talk to this. We also want to commend you on the fact that when the Auditor General did the performance audit and added on a program, that was fine, and that is actually very, very good as well. So we want to commend you on that. But issues around expenditure management continue to plague your department, as well as a regression in procurement and contract management. Then we also want you, hopefully, to touch on the issue of the financial health of the department. The creditors' payment period was doubled from 23 to 42 days, and this obviously incurs interest. You are drawing on a bank overdraft, and it would appear that the department is going to dip into the next year's budget, something which has been happening previously through accruals, and obviously this is not a healthy situation. So you'll tell us how you're going to deal with that. Well, the regression in contract management, you're obviously going to talk about it. Your document management system, it has been pointed out, has to be improved, and irregular expenditure. Then there are obviously other issues, but I'm just touching on some of them. In terms of your funding of NPOs, non-profit organizations or not-for-profit organizations, it has been pointed out that your tracking of the monitoring and evaluation outcomes and reporting there has to be beefed up. And then the issue of infrastructure and maintenance plans with these NPOs that you're funding needs to be looked at. Then we must commend you as well in terms of your disaster spending. The Social Relief of Distress Fund for the April 2022 floods there were no issues around that. So thank you very much and well done. And there is an element of under expenditure that we'll be looking at. There are also vacancies. And we are aware of the letter, the communication from National Treasury in this regard. But if you can tell us how you are going to deal with this, or what measures you have in place to ensure that, given the funding that you do have, the service delivery is not going to be negatively impacted extensively. So those are some of the issues. HOD, let me hand over to you and your team. And if you could fly to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, honorable members. We have prepared a presentation. We are flighting it now. As I've indicated, Honorable Chair and honorable members, we have employed the Chief Financial Officer in the department. We haven't had one for quite some time, and he started on the 1st of June 2023, and he is going to start with the first presentation. We have 3 presentations, which then the first one that relates to AG findings, as well as the governance action plan that we came up with. And then we do have also another one that was requested in terms of our payment to SIU. And then we'll also share that with you. And then the last one, it is with regard to the turnaround plan in terms of our attention to condonation. Mr. Zungu, can you please start? I'm not sure whether your camera is working now. If you can just show the face to the honorable members before you proceed. Thank you.
Thanks, HOD. I think the camera is working, but we can't see the face.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I've requested my IT to come and assist me. But in the meantime, can I be allowed to continue the presentation?
Yes, please do.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and good morning to yourself and the honorable members as well, and all the colleagues in the meeting. I'll start with the presentation on AG findings, as well as the effective governance action plan emanating from the AG findings. The presentation outline will talk about the purpose of the presentation, as well as the overall audit outcome, as well as the audit improvement plan. The purpose is to present to the SCOPA the department response to audit findings raised by Auditor General in the departments during 22-23 audit cycle, and audit improvement plans of the department in responding to the audit findings raised by Auditor General. Overall audit outcome for the department in 22-23 audit, the department achieved the unqualified audit opinion with findings on compliance. On financial statements, we receive unqualified audit opinion with no findings. And in annual performance reports for Program 3 and Program 2, also we receive unqualified audit opinion with no findings. The issue is on expenditure, as well as the procurement and contract management, where there were material findings. On consumer accounts management as well, there were material findings, and on transfer payments, we also received unqualified audit opinion. On strategic planning and performance information, we also received unqualified audit opinion. So only those three elements where department received the qualified. So we are working on those three elements so that we can improve. Therefore, the department developed the audit action plan. The findings that were on the management report, there were 17, and the actions that we came up with, there are 20, and the actions that are in progress, there are 13, and the actions that are completed, there are 7. The first issue is regarding the supply chain management and contract management, where there was an award that was discovered by Auditor General that was not supposed to have been issued because there were some documents that are alleged to be fraudulent. The investigation and inquiry has been initiated with the Department of Employment and Labour, since the document that is in question that's alleged to be fraudulent is a document that is coming from this department. So the investigation has been initiated. And the other issue was regarding the issue of bid committees, where there were issues of inconsistency in scoring by the bid evaluation committee. And also we are saying as a department, the on-job training will be provided to the bid committees prior to the evaluation of the bid. And also there was also an issue around the deviation that was not properly done. And then we are saying to respond as a progress, the deviations are now compiled within the SCM unit in order to ensure the compliance with the requirement for the deviation submission, and we are progressing very well. Then the other issue is irregular expenditure not prevented. So the issue here is whereby there is irregular expenditure mainly regarding the utilization of contracts that are expired, and the department has strengthened the monitoring of contracts to ensure that the contracts are renewed in time. We've got the contract register that is being implemented, and also Chair to report that by the 1st of September, we have removed all the contracts that were expired already, and now there are new contracts. All the contracts that were irregular are no more in place. And then with regards to the IT security management, there was an issue of log-on violation, user access right, and system administrativities reviewed for the CAT systems were not performed. We are saying the department has performed internal system review in Q1, and Professor Treasurer is to be consulted to provide an independent review on the log-on evaluation on HardCat system. Then the other issue that is pending is a payment made within 30 days. There were the findings that there were payments that were made beyond the period of 30 days. Chair, I need to report that the challenge on this one is mainly because of cash flow challenges. So the department does not have enough funds to pay all the service providers on monthly basis, resulting to accruals on monthly basis, not even at the end of the year. On monthly basis, there are invoices that end up being pushed to the next month because the cash is not enough in each and every month, because the budget for the department has been cut. However, the contracts that the department is paying, they are still running, because it's mainly for the security contract, for the NPOs, for the catering services provided in facilities, for the offense and so on. Those contracts are still running, but the budget has been cut. So resulting to the payment made after 30 days. What we have done here, Chair, is that we have engaged Provincial Treasurer to request additional funding in this regard, and they have indicated that the matter will be tabled at the Executive Council for decision if the department can be assisted, because it's really a crisis, Chair. But we hope everything will be all right once Provincial Treasurer assists. And also, there is an issue of consequence management. There was issue of irregular expenditure that were not disclosed and investigated. The progress that the fruitless national expenditure is currently being investigated by the Internal Organizational Risk and Internal Control Directorate, and is anticipated to be complete by 31st of March 2024. And also, we're saying the irregular unauthorized fruitless and wasteful expenditure committee has been appointed to provide a recommendation on appropriate disciplinary actions. On fiscal facilities, there was an issue of at Phoenix Service Office decanting and securing of staff accommodation in the 15 park homes. The management was advised to investigate the extension of time, payment of 132,000, and disclose the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So this one, Chair, I need to indicate that this function is done by Public Works as our implementing agent. So the matter was brought to the attention of Public Works, and Public Works is investigating the matter in order to determine if indeed there was a fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So we are in contact with the Public Works. They will advise us in terms of the progress, and also to how this matter will be treated and closed. And also, there was a delay in construction and resulting to a duplication of works at Osizweni Handicraft, a handicraft center for the department. Also, this one, Chair, is being implemented by the Department of Public Works. We have since met Public Works to discuss this matter, and they've indicated that they have done their investigation. They have brought this to attention of Auditor General. They're waiting for the General to respond in order to close this matter, and also to understand if this matter is really fruitless and wasteful expenditure. There was an issue of non-compliance with BBBEE regulations. The department has appointed a BBBEE verification agency, which is Inkomba verification agency for all compliance requirements for BEE Act. The department will share the BEE certificate with the commissioner, and also the checklist to verify compliance with BEE requirements is in place. There's also an issue of ICT governance. The finding was around corporate governance of ICT policy and other ICT policies not approved. ICT strategy committee meeting not held at required frequency. Significant ICT spend was not reported on and monitored by ICT strategy committee. Information communication technologies, staff training and skills development needs have not been addressed. The progress that the head of department has approved the corporate governance of ICT policy framework and other ICT policies, including the information security policy and standard operating procedures, IT data backup, and standard operating procedures on 30 March 2023. ICT strategy committee meetings scheduled for the current year is incorporated into departmental calendar of events scheduled. And also, disaster recovery plan is in place. The training to cater for skills required by the staff within ICT directorate is in progress. Regarding transfers and subsidies, Chair, They were finding on incomplete and damaged ceiling boards on non-functional waste bin and toilet at Ariane Benevolent Home, which is normally abbreviated as ABH, which is an NPO that is funded by the department. The department has undertaken the visit to the NPO to engage them on this matter, and the damaged ceiling and wash bin has since been fixed. Mutanda Society, for the agent, there's also similar issues where there were cracked walls, damaged toilet, defective taps, damaged ceiling, and so on. And then the department intervention, the maintenance and repairs are in progress by the NPO. Chair also needs to indicate that these NPOs are funded by the department, and most of the fund that is coming from department is not necessarily for the buildings, but we're funding for the operations for the departments. But we do encourage this NPO to get some donations for the buildings and so on, and also assist them to ensure that they comply with the occupational health and safety regulations. At Mbandle flagship program, there was a lack of reporting of the outcome and monitoring and evaluation. The department has appointed 8 foundations to do all the renovation in flagships, and the flagship projects are being resuscitated to align to their original mandates. Recommendation is recommended that the members of the SCOPA notes the presentation on department's response to finding raised by Auditor General during 22-23 audit cycle, and also notes the departmental audit improvement plan, which is effective government action plan for to address audit findings raised by Auditor General during 22-23 and previous audit cycle. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, CFO, and I'm so glad not to have to say acting CFO anymore. We can also see the difference. It's interesting that the department has opted to employ an agency to look at BEE compliance. It's another way of dealing with things, I suppose. Okay, can we take the other 2 presentations, colleagues, and then I will open for your comments, questions, and any issues you wish to raise with the department? Okay, let's take the next presentation, HOD.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, honorable members. The purpose of this presentation is to present the status of condonation of irregular expenditure and implementation of consequence management. The background is that I'm sure PLO you are writing the presentation. The background is that yes, the background is that irregular expenditure as defined by PFMA is incurred when there is a contravention of, and that is not accordance with, a requirement of relevant legislation, including in particular the supply chain management prescripts or any provincial legislation providing for procurement procedures in provincial government. Irregular expenditure incurred by the department has accumulated to 1.087 billion as at 31st March 2023. The condonation status is as follows. By the 31st of March 2022, there is 399,433 that was submitted to the provincial treasury for consideration. By 30 September 2022, we had 208.6 million, which was also submitted to the provincial treasury for condonation. And then lastly, by August 2023, 14.7 million was also submitted to provincial treasury for consideration. The status of condonation, as I've indicated, that 622.8 million has been submitted to the provincial treasury, and that the provincial treasury requested that the department provide 1,500 payment vouchers to assess the value for money in the expenditure. Out of that request, the department has only managed to obtain 150 vouchers due to the challenges of manual vouchers dating back to 2011-2012 financial year. And some of the vouchers have already been disposed after a 5-year period. So further amounts are still under consideration for determination test if the irregular expenditure is correctly classified. This is the irregular expenditure that is under determination test, which amounts to 307.3 million for irregular expenditure for the previous financial year, which is under determination test, as I've indicated, to actually prove if they prove that they do belong to irregular expenditure. In terms of consequence management, legislation stipulates that matters such as incurring unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure, and that as well as possible abuse of SCM system, which include fraud and improper conduct, and that allegation of financial misconduct should be investigated, and that disciplinary steps should be taken based on the results of the investigations. So the department has taken effective steps to turn around non-compliance with the legislation by appointing the Unauthorized, Irregular, and Fruitless and Wasteful Expenditure Committee that will assess cases and recommend for appropriate disciplinary steps to be taken. The committee will exercise adequate oversight to ensure that irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure were investigated in a timely manner in order to implement consequence management processes in compliance with the PFMA. In conclusion, the department continued to work closely with the provincial treasury to provide information required for condonation, and that the department also to ensure that the information submitted for condonation comply with the provincial treasury requirements as well for condonation. Transactions that is under determination test to be finalized by the 31st of March 2024 for submission to the provincial treasury. The last presentation, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, is with regard to payment of SIU invoices as at 30 September 2023. The purpose of this presentation, we want to present to the SCOPA the status of payments to the Special Investigation Unit. The background is that the SIU is mandated in terms of the Presidential Proclamation number R23 of 2020 as published in the Government Gazette, dated 23 July 2020 to investigate the affairs of state institutions. As mandated, the SIU identified the procurement of blankets and PPEs under the National State of Disaster for investigation. The SIU focused its investigation on whether civil recovery of losses sustained was possible and contravention of the PFMA. In 2021, the SIU forwarded a letter of engagement which outlined the approach that would be followed by the SIU in conducting its investigation and invoices. So this is the progress in this slide, progress on SIU payments. Can you move to slide 5, Mr. Sia? We are on slide 5 now. And then on slide 6, the progress in terms of SIU payments. The SIU started to bill invoices to the department in January 2021 for the work done in 2020. And as at 30 September 2023, the department has paid 33 invoices to the value of 2.0 million. And we must also indicate that there are invoices that were not forwarded to the department that amounted to 1.4 million. and that the SIU has since submitted its invoices for August and September 2023, which amounts to 44,472 rand 50, and outstanding 10 invoices to the value of 1.4 million were received on the 3rd of October and will be settled by the end of October 2023. It is recommended that the Standing Committee on Public Accounts note the report on the status of payment to the Special Investigating Unit as at 30 September 2023. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, honorable members.
Thank you very, very much for that presentation. I think, as you know, irregular expenditure is an issue. We must also note that the department's irregular expenditure, although it was incurred for the current year, it has actually dropped. But, you know, the cumulative one and the condemnation is what we want to see. Again, members, I'll ask you to hold your questions. And can we get the third presentation? This one, actually, we've also received. It's on the settling of amounts owing to the SIU. Now, colleagues, you'll remember that this is something that SCOPA has undertaken to do to assist the SIU in its work. When the SIU, because we get reports from the SIU and we share what is going on so that it assists our work, and they asked us to support them in getting their accounts, you know, that they were billing to provincial departments to be paid. I must say that it is yielding results because provincial departments are reporting payment. And we'll now hear what DST has been doing. Thank you. And welcome, CFO. We saw your face.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is my face, Honorable Chair.
Thanks, Mrs. Zungu. You can close the video now. Can we get that presentation flighted, please? Can the presentation please be flighted?
Honorable Chair, honorable members, we have presented all our presentations as the Department of Social Development. We had 3 presentations that we submitted. Thank you.
Oops, sorry about that. Colleagues, can I ask that by show of hands, you indicate whether you have questions, comments, clarity. We'll start with the members of the Portfolio Committee, but just before that, let me just also see if there are any members of the department who wish to add anything. I know HOD, you are leading them, so I don't think they would be, but I'm just checking. No, I think we are fine. Okay, so can I then, by a show of hands, please, see if there are issues that people wish to raise? Just trying to, right. Okay, let me also welcome Honorable Les Governor, who is with us. I can see the hand of Honorable de Klerk, and I think Honorable Tembe, you are a member of the Portfolio Committee. Okay, so you will not raise Portfolio Committee related issues here, okay? Okay, Honorable de Klerk, then Honorable Tembe. Can't see anybody else.
Thank you, Chair. If I may just ask the department, I mean, it's clear that on a monthly basis there's a cash shortfall, and I don't see any indication that that will change. What is going to happen? What is the department doing to stop that, because I mean it's going to crash at the end of the year with environments and so on. So what is the turnaround strategy regarding the cash flow problem?
Thanks, Honourable de
Thank you,
Klerk.
Chief.
Thank you. Ms. Tembe?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the department on the reports that they have made. Mine is quite similar to Honourable de Klerk, because we are seeing mostly now with the NPOs who are being paid on a shortfall, and they're being paid, with overdue amounts. That needs to be done for the NPOs. I think that there needs to be sufficient oversight when it comes to NPOs with compliance, with funding, and what's going on with that funding. So mine is quite similar to Honourable de Klerk about that issue. Is what's the actual plan? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other hands, so let me hand over to you, HOD, and your team.
Thank you very much.
The issue is basically the cash shortfall that you're experiencing, and as we all know, you're not going to get much relief. How are you going to be managing this?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, Honourable members, for those questions. We have tried our best to put systems in place so that we manage the issue of the cash flow challenge. First of all, I must indicate, we must indicate, Honourable Chair, that with regard to the payment to the non-profit organizations, we have introduced a system where we pay the non-profit organizations in tranches, which then says that beginning of the quarter, you are paid for the entire 3 months, so that at least NPOs do not run out of cash when we have our other challenges. We have engaged the non-profit organizations. We had the roadshows across the province. As we speak at this point in time, honourable members, there isn't a single non-profit organization that has not yet been paid. We have started this month, as in October, to pay them in tranches. We have some that will be getting their payment next week, and then the last week of October, they will all receive their first tranche, which is the payment for September, October, November. I must indicate that we had bilateral engagements with the provincial treasury, because we had to get the buy-in so that we get the support, because we were the only province that was paying the non-profit organizations monthly their subsidies, whereas you find that others, in terms of the cash flow management, they must always have money to spend on their day-to-day expenses and pay salaries and so on. So we had a fruitful engagement with the provincial treasury in such a way that they were able to then re-look into how we have provided with them with the information on when we're gonna need cash. Then they started to then align themselves in terms of our quarterly tranches, so that in October we have money that is available to pay for 3 months, and so on and so on. So this has worked well. We do have a confirmation from the NPOs appreciating that we have paid them, because some of them were owing them the payment for August that we have since paid. And also over and above that, we pay them the first tranche. So this is how we're going to manage them going forward. But over and above that, honourable members, we have also assessed the risk at the same time, because there are those well-established NPOs who can manage their budget very well. But those that we showed risky areas where we are supporting them at the same time, we will then also continue with the monthly payment. But there are very few, under 10 in fact, but the rest of them are appreciating how the department is paying them going forward. I think the challenge is what also a compromise us last time in terms of the cash blocking and the challenges in terms of the cash flow in the department, which then affected the NPO. So that problem has since been resolved as we have started now in October 2023. So we don't think we'll have that challenge going forward. So that's the plan we have with the non-profit organization, and then we are working very closely with them. I'm not sure, CFO, if there's anything that you would want to add as well.
CFO?
No, thank you, Honorable Chair. I think HOD has covered well, except that maybe we're also requesting assistance in terms of the cash, because the cash that we are actually working on, the turnaround is on NPOs. However, we still have some challenges around the service providers now, because the NPOs will be sorted, but the contracted service providers who are in the department providing the catering for facilities, the security, and so on, they're still gonna be experiencing some cash flow challenges. And we have since also engaged Provincial Treasury to assist us, and they are promising. Let me end the Honorable Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, CFO, because that was the other aspect, and I think that's what Honourable de Klerk was trying to ascertain. You've sorted out one part of the problem, but the problem is cash flow for the other expenses, such as the service providers, and the government's position is payment within 30 days. Tell me something, how are you doing in terms of debts owing to you? I don't know the quantum, and your debt recovery process, because that might also be an area where you might be able to recoup some funds. And I think this is also, I must point out, HOD, this is why consequence management is important. Where there might have been an abuse of funds, etc., this is where you would be able to recoup. Let me get some comment on that. And yeah, can't see any other hands, okay?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The CFO will come in on this one, but I just want to comment with regard to the recoveries that the SIU assisted us to get. So the SIU was able to assist us in terms of the companies where they felt that they overcharged the department. So as a result, there was an agreement to say, no, you need to return a certain money to the department because the cost that you charge the department was too much. As much as we are paying the SIU, but at least we happy that they did their part in terms of assisting the department to recover some funds to those companies that were involved in terms of the procurement of the PPEs. CFO.
No, thank you very much, HOD, through the Honorable Chair. I think the major one has already been covered by the HOD on SIU, where there was overcharging, as already indicated by the HOD. We do have a debt recovery plan that we are implementing in the department, Honorable Chair. However, it's a small scale. It's because it's for small amount of money that may be, for example, salary overpayment that was paid maybe to an employee, maybe to an ex-employee because of delay in maybe termination of service. However, the recovery for those is in place, and it's a very, very small scale. It does not assist really. And also I need to indicate, Honorable Chair, that all those amounts that we're talking about are the previous year's amount, that those overpayments are no more taking place. We do not have new debts at the moment, but the old debts are being recovered as per the debt recovery policies. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, CFO. Okay, colleagues, I think the department has attempted to address your questions. Clearly, you're not going to get an answer that leaves you 100% comfortable. We can see that at least in terms of the NPOs who are assisting the most vulnerable, they've got a plan, and they say they're working with Treasury. There would hopefully be some adjustments that would come, but I think it's going to have to be a matter of the trimming again. We have been through this period previously, where there were strong, constraints that were put on expenditure, and I think COVID has taught us as well that virtual meetings like this one, by the way, do save a lot of money. So there are obviously going to have to be other ways of reducing costs. But I don't think they can provide anything more, colleagues, and we don't want the department to lie. So it is difficult for the department right now. It's seeking help from Treasury. I think let's leave it at that. We can't squeeze any reassurance from the department. Safe to say that wherever they need to, audit what the expenditure is, and wherever they can trim, they must do so. I think we'd hold that, Honourable de Klerk.
Yes, that's correct, Chair. We live in hope. Let's hope it's space born now.
All right, Honourable Chairman as well. I think we can't take this line of questioning any further. But I would suggest that within the portfolio committee, there is monitoring, and so that you are kept updated within the portfolio committee of what is going on. Are there any other issues, colleagues? I think the department, and we must say, Ms. Vilakazi and your team, the response, you have responded to all the issues. We are glad to see that there is proactive action being taken to address the issues, and obviously as SCOPA we will be sending you some follow-up resolutions to see what is going on. But I think generally the department has responded well, and we'd like you to move from an unqualified with findings to a clean audit. Some of the areas that can be worked on have been identified. Are there any other issues, colleagues, for the department? Okay, I can't see any hands, because I think they've responded satisfactorily. All right, thank you very much, HOD and your team. We will release you, and thanks to the new CFO, we can see the differences that a person who is not acting can achieve. Thank you very much. We can release the department.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, honourable members. Thank you for the guidance and the comments. We are committing ourselves to improve further. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, colleagues, our next department is the Office of the Premier, but we had anticipated seeing them a bit later. Kabo, what time have you told them? We did ask Kabo to see whether they could come in earlier, but I'm not sure how much earlier. Kabo?
Good morning, honourable members. Chair, we are not winning actually. I think we'll have to take a break till 12 o'clock because the Premier is having a meeting from 11 o'clock till 5 to 12. Then hence she also wants to be part of the team that will be representing OTP. Okay,
colleagues, so we would have to adjourn until 12 for the Office of the Premier to come in. Okay? We'll reconvene, let's say, at 5 to 12. All right, so take an early lunch, please, colleagues. We'll see you at 11:55.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks, Honourable Chair.
Colleagues?
Yes, Chair.
I'm just checking that people are here. Colleagues, I think we're ready to start. I'm just checking. I can see Honorable de Klerk. Honorable Charlie is here with us. Honorable Rabe is here. I think you just need to do a check because people, we did say we're starting, they should come in at 11:55. We'll start at 12, people.
Yeah, we'll dial them in then.
Thanks, God.
Chair, it's Friday today. Cabo is normally attend a certain place as from 1 o'clock. But I don't know if he will not be affected today. I'm sure when you're saying we're starting at 12, it's like heaven.
No, because you are here, by then we'll be done.
I thought they were from your guys.
Kabo, how are we looking now?
We are cooperating, ma'am.
We are correcting. I can see Honorable Zulu. I can see Honorable Charlie. Okay, fine. So we'll declare myself and Honorable Rabe. Okay. All right. Colleagues, let me then welcome everyone to this hearing, SCOPA hearing, with the Office of the Premier. A special welcome, Honorable Premier. And we thank you for availing yourself with your team. You're all welcome. Let me just very quickly get into this presentation and the hearing, Honorable Premier, by also acknowledging the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee who is with us, as well as the other officials. We have also with us members of the Office of the Auditor General and the Provincial Audit and Risk Committee, portfolio committee members as well as SCOPA members, and we also have the support from the legislature. So item 2 is attendance and apologies. Cabo, I know that there's an apology from Honorable Rogers, who has a substitution in the form of Honorable Rabe. Anybody else?
No one else. No one else.
Thank you, Cabo. We then go to constitution of the meeting. The meeting is duly constituted. We have all members of SCOPA who need to constitute that quorum. They are present, so we can proceed. Then we'll go to item 4, which is affirmation by the Accounting Officer Authority or Authority. Honorable Premier, we'd like your officials who are going to be speaking in the meeting to take an oath or affirmation. Thereafter, we would ask you to give us some remarks. But let's start with the oath or affirmation to be taken by the officials. We'll start with the head of department, acting head of department. I can see Dr. Ndlovu is here. Can you take an oath or affirmation? The wording will be as follows. I, your name, do hereby swear to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. If you are swearing the oath, if you are affirming, you'll say I with your name, do hereby affirm to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I do hereby affirm. So we'll start with you, acting head of department. DG.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, the Honorable Premier. I, Nonhlanhla Mkhize, swear that I'll speak the truth and only the truth, so help me God.
Apologies, DG. I didn't realize you were here. Okay, so can you just briefly just show your face, just for purposes of record, and then you can close your video. Thanks, DG. Okay, can you then lead us through the rest of your team who will be speaking so that they can take the oath of affirmation, please?
The acting CFO will be speaking. His name is Nhlanhla Hlengwa. Please take the oath.
Acting CFO. Mr. Hlengwa, can you take the oath of affirmation and just very briefly show your face?
Good morning, Chairperson. All protocol observed. My name is Tata Hlengwa, the acting CFO, the Office of the Premier. I swear to speak the truth, only the truth. So help me God.
Thank you, Mr. Hlengwa. DG, is there anybody else who will be speaking?
Heinz Kuhn will speak, Honorable Chair.
Okay, Mr. Kuhn, will you take the oath of affirmation, please?
Good afternoon, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable MEC and members. I confirm that I, Heinz Kuhn, will speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
It is Ngubane.
Ngubane.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and the Premier members. I, Ngubane, do swear that I will speak the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Ms. Jacinta Naidu.
Ms. Naidu.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Jacinta Naidu. I hereby swear to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you.
Mr. Zakhele Mnai, DDG Zakhele Mnai.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Premier, and members. My name is Zakhele Mnai, So I, Zakedem, I swear that I'll speak the truth, but the truth only, so God help me.
From the side of the entity, chairperson is the CFO, Sipho Buthelezi.
Mr. Buthelezi.
Greetings, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, Honorable Premier, DG, DDGs, and all other colleagues. My name is Sipho Buthelezi, the Chief Financial Officer of the KZN Zulu Royal House Trust. I swear to speak only the truth, so help me God. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that cover your team, DG?
Dr. Fikile Ndlovu, DDG Fikile Ndlovu is the last one. Thank you.
Good morning, Premier, Honorable Chair, and honorable members. I swear that I will speak the truth, nothing but the truth. May God so help me. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dr. Ndlovu. Okay, so we've completed that. Honorable MEC, let me hand over to you and let me express our appreciation, Honorable Premier, for you availing yourself. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson and honorable members. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present the work of our department, and we really appreciate this opportunity, Chair, and to honorable members. We wish to indicate, Chair and honorable members, as we appreciate this opportunity, that we express our gratitude to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts and the discussions that we are going to be having here today. We do understand that the stability in key positions and the experienced personnel, as well as professionalizing the public service, are an important tenet of capable and ethical and developmental states that we are aspiring to. And as KwaZulu-Natal government and the Office of the Premier and its role as a coordinating department, we welcome this platform. And when the executive and senior public officials are in front of you, but I also wish to acknowledge my Director General and all the good work that she is continuously doing with her team. We acknowledge as well the work of the Auditor General's office in ensuring that our public finances are scrutinized and that public funds are utilized effectively and efficiently with great value to ensuring that we maintain the integrity of our financial statement. We also like to indicate, Chairperson, that in presenting our reports, you will appreciate that we're trying to work very hard to emphasize that the provincial government is serious about implementing consequence management, because it is one of the priorities of this administration. And as a result, we table this report with the clear plans of action on steps we are already taking or applying to ensure that consequence management is implemented constructively. And to that end, we have formed an interdepartmental steering committee chaired by a Deputy Director General in the Office of the Premier to expedite investigations in an Operation Bo style. We are pleased to announce that this progressive step has started to yield fruitful results. If you look at how we've been performing on the forensic side, we note that there is a slow progress and backlog on the investigations undertaken by the forensic unit. Some cases date back as 2019, and I have expressed my disappointment to the fact that the team is not moving as fast as we would like to see the work moving. Whilst we have noted the backlog in those investigations and incapacity issues in the unit, we are pleased to report that 11 highly skilled and competent forensic investigators were appointed as from the month of August. So we are very positive that we are going to be seeing some movement, as you'll see that a number of cases are already at the reporting stage. I'm already noting that, out of 73 investigations that are being reported on at the end of the quarter, 45 are at the reporting phase. And there are 6 reports that were finalized and issued during this quarter. We are also putting measures in place with the team to ensure that there is continuous monitoring of the implementation of those remedial actions that would have been recommended by those investigations, because it doesn't help that we do investigations and waste a lot of time and money and nothing happens after that. In an effort of addressing the condonation of irregular expenditure, we have put various measures in place. Compliance with irregular expenditure framework, the provincial treasury standard operating procedures was enforced during the entire process. Regular meetings have been set with the new condonement team from the provincial treasury to address the backlog in the condonement requests. The determination test was also conducted by the irregular expenditure team at the Office of the Premier. The value for money was confirmed that no loss by the department was identified during this process. Consequence management was also implemented against the identified officials. Request by the provincial treasury to amend specific determination has resulted in amendment of the consequence management measures that were being implemented. The provincial treasury also has requested that supporting documents to confirm the implementation of the consequence management and information to be provided, and I am monitoring these myself to ensure that by the end of this month, all the documentation that is needed, but also we understand as to what it is that is an outcomes. There is an outstanding balance of about 15 million relating to the transactions and for the period that is beyond the retention period of supporting documentation. I must say, Honorable Chairperson, that myself and the Director General, we are working very hard to ensure that the royal household is put on track. We are not happy, Chairperson and Honorable Members, that things are not at the stage of stability or at the stage where we can proudly say the institution is stabilized. We noted with concerns the report pertaining to the management of the vehicles assigned to the royal household family. An array of issues have been raised regarding the mishandling of the fleet of vehicle assigned to even the Zulu royal household. But we are pleased to announce that we have undertaken or taken progressive steps to rectify the situation. The Deputy Director of Transport Officer have been employed to mitigate the problems pertaining to the fleet management or fleet assigned to the royal household. And the officials will ensure that the fleet is monitored and is managed in a manner that really prevent the abuse of the state resources. On the rationalization, we will report, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, that we are making progress on the rationalization. There are corrections on the listings of the Public Finance Management Act. There are delisting of the entities that is going to be happening, the closing down and the absorption of functions into other entities. I think the report that was tabled by the MEC of ETIA yesterday at the legislature is the demonstration of how hard we're trying to work. We are also pleased that the chair of chairs has also given us her assurance that she will make sure that the respective committees start to deal with these matters, because we really, Chair, would not want to see these, bills lapsing again. They've lapsed 3 times already in the previous administration, and really we feel that it will really be a disservice, especially during those difficult financial situations that our government finds itself at. We cannot afford to drag this matter anymore. So in conclusion, Chair, I want to assure the Public Accounts Committee and the citizens of KwaZulu-Natal that we are fully committed to transparency and accountability as the government of KwaZulu-Natal as a whole, working with the members of the Executive Council and our Director General and her team. We will work diligently to rectify all the issues and shortcomings that have been pointed out by the Auditor General. This includes the strengthening of our internal controls, addressing weaknesses in the financial management, and ensuring that the public funds are spent wisely and for the benefit of the people of this province. And I would like to reiterate our commitment to good governance, accountability, and a responsible government. And I can confidently say myself as an Executive Council and my Director General as an accounting officer can give you that assurance 100% that we are here. We will make sure that at some point we make you proud. We are grateful for the opportunity to engage in this dialogue, Chairperson and the honorable members. And thank you very much again for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. And I must say, we can see that there's a very hands-on approach that you are taking. And Honorable Premier, we do appreciate that. It's also something of a relief to hear about progress on the rationalization of public entities, as this has been something that SCOPA has been asking, and it's been going on, as you say, for a very long time. So hopefully there's some light. We'll now hand over to your department. Actually, if you will flight the presentations that we have received today, but we must point out that, and we must commend you, Honorable Premier, the department has received an unqualified audit with no findings. We must also commend you that the performance audit conducted by the Auditor General's Office found that there were no findings there as well for 2 consecutive years. This is very, very good performance on the part of your department. You have had no irregular expenditure in your department, and this has been decreasing over the past 2 years. So that is also very good. However, the issues that we would want the DG to cover would be, as you've alluded to, the issue of investigations, the issue of the rationalization, the issue of underspending of your budget, which was an emphasis of matter. The department underspent by 30.2 million. And also, we want to emphasize, as you have said, that your department plays a very important role as a coordinating ministry to coordinate departments. So we would also express some concern about the youth fund, where there was 50 million that was not spent, particularly in the climate of unemployment and the need for job creation. We'd like to hear how the plan is there. And we'd like to see in the presentation that your controls in relation to the Memorandum of Understanding that you have signed with the KZN Growth Fund in terms of reporting and monitoring are tightened up, because I think this is an area of weakness. And of course, as you've said, consequence management is important. And so investigations would want that improved reporting acting on the recommendations and the strengthening of that as well. Let me hand over to the DG and the team. Thank you. Please flight the presentation.
Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, we
can see the presentation. Thanks, DG.
Okay. We were going to start with this presentation. However, the Honorable Premier has kindly covered all the aspects of this presentation, which was our audit improvement plan, and it's already indicated that the improvement measures that have been implemented are 7, and in progress it's 4. So we request to take the next presentation, Honorable Chairperson, which will be the status of forensic investigations, if we may, Chairperson.
That will be fine.
Okay. That presentation will be done by Ms. Jasanta Naidu. If we can please flight that presentation.
Good afternoon, members. The presentation that is being flighted is going to focus on 2 areas within the Forensic Investigations Unit. Firstly, on the status of the in-progress investigations within the unit, as well as the number of reports that have been issued thus far. Further to that, the purpose is then to apprise SCOPA on the status of the in-progress investigations and again the progress made on finalizing investigations in the province. If we move to the next slide. Okay, this slide, Honourable Chairperson, we have also circulated a report, a detailed report that gives the detail of all the investigations per department. So as an example, the first department in the ESID cluster is agriculture. There is a separate worksheet that details the 6 investigations for agriculture and the individual status on each of those matters. The slide we have that is being presented now is a summary, so it gives you a holistic view of all the investigations that are within the Forensic Investigations Unit as at the beginning of Q2. So as at 1 July, we had 74 investigations that were in progress. We received 4. We finalized 6 investigations, and we have 73 that remains in progress as at the end of September. The remainder of the presentation, which I'm going to take you through, Honourable Chairperson, is actually going to focus on the 73 investigations that we have in the unit. What is the status of the 73 investigation, and what is the plan in place in order for us to finalize those investigations? So the slide regarding the status of the investigations, I think what I would just like to bring to your attention is the division of the 73 investigations. So as you can see in the bullet number 4, as of the 18th of October, the unit had 73 investigations, of which 44 is within the ESID cluster, 22 is within the social cluster, 6 within the governance cluster, and 1 in JCPS. Thank you. Okay, the slide that we have flighted is actually giving you an example of on a high level of the makeup of the ESID cluster investigations and the governance cluster. So as you can see, with regards to the agriculture department, out of the number of investigations that we have open, there are 4 investigations that are in the reporting phase. So when we are saying investigations are in the reporting phase, it is either investigations that have been finalized by the Chief Director and have been submitted for onward approval, and they would be then issued to the department within the month, or there are investigations that are still in the internal process review. Internal process review will be that it is between the director, the Chief Director, and the investigators within the forensic unit. A detailed breakdown of investigations that are within the reporting phase is coming up in the next slides. But as an example, so just to continue, within the ECID cluster, there are 23 investigations that are within the reporting phase, and there are 21 investigations that just remain in progress. So that makes up the 43 investigations in ECID cluster that are in progress. For the governance cluster, we have 6 investigations. All of them are in the reporting phase. Thank you. If we can move on. The social cluster and the JCPS cluster. For social cluster, out of the 23 investigations, we have 15 that are in the reporting phase and 7 that remain in progress. And for community safety, JCPS, there is 1 investigation only for com safety, and that is in the reporting phase. Okay. Here, this slide is giving you an indication of the number of reports that have been issued. So in total, from the beginning of the financial year, the unit has finalized and issued 14 reports. So in Q1, we have done 8, and the Q1 report was submitted to SCOPA during last quarter. In Q2, we finalized 6 reports, and the departments that we finalized it was for Department of Transport, COCTA, Education, Social Development, Human Settlements, and Department of Health and Arts and Culture. Okay, we can move to the next slide. Okay, so Chairperson, the recommendations is that SCOPA notes the status of the in-progress investigations within the province, as well as the number of reports that have been finalized during Q2. Chairperson, I'll leave it at this point. If there are any questions or any detailed questions, I'm happy to then answer your questions. Thank you.
I think, colleagues, what we'll do is we'll take all the presentations and then you can raise questions. Is that all right?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Right. Mr. Kuhn, do you want to add to what has been said?
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I can confirm that there has been considerable progress. There are quite a few reports that have been submitted just for verification of the implementability of the recommendations insofar as legal technical aspects are concerned. We have finished, I believe it is approximately 12 or 13. There are 4 or 5 that have been submitted to me yesterday, which will be finalized shortly. So, Honourable Chair, yes, I can confirm that these matters are progressing now fairly quickly, and we hope to resolve all the backlog in a very short space of time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think members will raise their issues a bit later. Let's go on to the next presentation, DG.
Honourable Chair, we request to put we request to check whether we put the Zulu Royal Household Trust now for the response to findings in their AG report, or we put them at
I
the
think
end?
complete. Yeah, I think complete all the
OTP.
departments.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's then request to deal with the condonation of irregular expenditure. We will summarize this as well because most of the information has been said by the Honorable Premier.
Once again, Chairperson, honorable members of SCOPA, greetings to the Honorable Premier, AC President, HOD Treasury, the DG, and colleagues and all protocol observed. I'm going to take you through the short presentation on our status with regards to the coordination of irregular expenditure. The slides presented here it's an analysis of irregular expenditure incurred over the 4-year period. The department has implemented stringent measures over the 4-year period, which has resulted in a significant decrease in irregular expenditure over the years. You would see that in the 22-23 financial year, department did not incur irregular expenditure. Okay, on this slide. In these slides, we are presenting a status as at 30th September 2023, a reconciliation of irregular expenditure where we are showing an opening balance of 251 million, which we started with in the 2020-2021. And we in the 2020-2021 we incur irregular expenditure of 10 million, and the following year we incurred expenditure of 874,000, and Treasury has since approved or condoned our submissions to the value of 53 million, and with the engagement with Provincial Treasury on the submissions that were made, there were transactions that were reclassified, which did not meet the definition of irregular expenditure in terms of the revised framework, which then leaves us with the balance of 209 million in our books. So of that 209 million, we have submissions to the value of 173 million that we made to the Provincial Treasury for consideration, and there's also a 20 million submission that is sitting with Provincial Treasury, where they've indicated that they are not going to consider those submissions on the basis that those transactions are under forensic investigations. And we can report that forensic investigation has been concluded, and the report is to be presented to the Honorable Premier for implementation. And once that implementation has been done, and the Treasury would then be advised of the consequence management that has been implemented. There is a balance of 15 million that the department is still working on. I must also indicate that that balance of 15 million relates to balances that are coming from old financial years, from which documentation cannot be retrieved. We are working with records management insofar as retrieving those documents concerned. But we must also highlight that it would be difficult for a department to perhaps implement consequence management should there be any losses incurred in those balances. The next slides presents a summary of our coordination submissions, where we are indicating a total of 380 million submission made to provincial treasury since since provincial treasury took over as a condoning authority in this province. And to date, we have 53 million condoned by the Coordination Committee and 101 million reclassified. And there were duplications of 40 million that were also resolved. And there was also 30 million that were removed from the register in the basis that was not regarded as irregular expenditure. There is that 173 million that is awaiting coordination by provincial treasury. In total, we've made 21 submissions to provincial treasury to date. These slides has been covered by the Honourable Premier in terms of us working with provincial treasury on a regular basis to ensure that we address the backlog in our coordination submissions. There were determination tests that were conducted by the internal control unit within the department, and in that coordination exercise, value for money was confirmed that there were no financial losses incurred by the department, and where there were transgressions and officials involved, and those officials were disciplined in terms of the consequence management framework. Okay, I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. The next presentation is on consequence management, which will be also a summary because the Honourable Premier has spoken on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG, and good afternoon again to the Honourable Chairperson. We will be presenting on consequence management, going to the first slide, to slide number 4. And here we have just reflected, hoping that maybe let me just wait until it is loaded. I do know that members do have. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think going straight to slide number 4, this is, thank you very much. We are reflecting on just on the actions. This is now the informal action that was taken in terms of the consequence management, and we are reporting that there was a case of prejudice of the administration, discipline or efficiency of the department, which had to do with a person who was booked in a hotel accommodation and did not show up. That's one of the charges that, so there has been a written warning. And if we'll then go to the next slide, please, where we are now reflecting on the status of the cases that the Office of the Premier, the formal cases now that the Office of the Premier is dealing with. The first case has to do with a matter of King Support and Royal Household,
which has to do with bringing the name of the department into disrepute. And here we can indicate that the matter was finalized on the 4th of September, with the official having pleaded guilty and issued with a final written warning. There is a case also in office support and auxiliary of poor performance and insubordination, where the investigation was concluded, and there is a disciplinary hearing that is scheduled to take place on the 10th of November 2023. There is also a matter that relates to a colleague in the Forensic Investigation Unit, again for bringing the name of the department into disrepute. And the disciplinary hearing proceeded on the 28th of September, and the officer charged requested for further documents. The matter was adjourned until the 2nd of November. In the next slide,
need to move the slide down.
right. In the next slide, which is a matter of the port abuse of state vehicle, and here the disciplinary hearing was concluded on the 8th of September, and the parties submitted closing arguments on 28th of September, and we are now awaiting the chairperson's findings. Then there's a matter of in respect of the colleague in the protection of human rights, where the investigation was concluded, and the suspension was uplifted, and the acting supervisor is in the process of giving a written warning, because the supervisor was there is also facing his own case, in terms of which I will be reporting also just shortly. Okay, if I may proceed then to the next slide. In terms of the
slides are not being moved, Mr. Ngabani.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that, Chair. I think there seems to be a problem. Okay, it's being reloaded now. Okay, can we then go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Yeah, in respect of this matter, Chairperson, this is a matter that the office has been dealing with, which relates to the CFO as well as 3 other officials. The matter commenced on the 28th of July 2020, and there were in limine points that were raised by the employee, and the matter was taken to judicial review, and the matter was heard in the Labour Court on the 12th of August 2023, and judgment is awaited. It is the same thing with this is in respect of the CFO, and the row below has to do with all the other colleagues also that are part of the same case. That is the director for SCM, as well as the colleagues who were also in that unit SCM. If we could then move to the next slide, please. Thank you. In terms of this slide, there is a matter again in relation to the King's support official for insubordination, and the investigating officer attended consultation on this also Premier, and the plan is to finalize the investigation so that the matter can then also be concluded soon. There is a matter of intergovernmental relations for gross dereliction of duty and bring the name of the department into serious disrepute, and the hearing is scheduled for the 27th of October. There is a matter of the human resource support of the dereliction of duty, and the investigating officer has been appointed. A consultation has already taken place with the witnesses, and the investigating officer is just finalizing seeing other witnesses so the matter can also be concluded. Going into the next slide, there is a matter in relation to a colleague from the Provincial Organizational Development Unit for the signed trip sheet without authority, and the employer rep, as well as the chairperson, have been appointed. The investigator and employer had a consultation on the 5th of October and are waiting for the date now of the hearing from the chairperson. Going to the next slide. Chairperson, these are the new misconduct cases that we have included. The first one has to do with it is a DDG in the Premier for bringing the name of the department into disrepute, and the employer representative has been appointed. Charges have been drafted, and the matter is scheduled for a disciplinary hearing on the 14th of November. The other one is the same case, which has to do with a chief director as well as the person who is the acting director. Also, the investigating officer has been appointed. An investigation is in progress in respect of this matter. And we are therefore, Chairperson, recommending that SCOPA does note the status of consequence management cases for the Office of the Premier. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Ngubane, and we do indeed note the status of the consequence management. It is actually good to see that action is being taken. Of course, there are delays, but you can see that the necessary steps are being taken. DDG, can we have the next presentation?
It's the report on payment of KZN project invoice owed to the SIU, Honorable Chair, and Heinz Kuhn will be dealing with that item.
Okay, Mr. Kuhn.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, honourable members. Yes, I was requested to deal with this matter, Chairperson, to resolve the issues about the outstanding amounts that are due. The schedule that has been, or that is being flighted, is unfortunately not the latest one, Chair, but it is reasonably accurate in that some of the amounts have been paid. The first batch relating to Proclamation R23 of 2020 relate to the Department of Education, Health, Social Development, and a variety of municipalities, with the biggest outstanding amount being due by eThekwini municipality. This investigation all relates to the procurement of PPE during the state of disaster, and as is evident, the Office of the Premier had an outstanding amount, which was an oversight because the SIU submitted the invoices to an official who had retired and unfortunately did not follow up on it. I then contacted the head of the Durban office. Those invoices were immediately submitted to us, and the payment, they were submitted last week. The SIU was registered on our BAS system, and they were in fact paid yesterday, as a result of which that is resolved. There were other matters involving Umgeni, Utukela Water, several TVET colleges, which, with agreement of the SIU, we removed from this schedule. Insofar as the provincial projects are concerned, which is the second portion of the list, Honourable Chairperson, I have contacted the various departments, Treasury, Transport through their Chief Financial Officer and their legal officer, because they were of the view that they had fully settled all their outstanding costs. They were advised that there are outstanding costs, even though they have paid substantial amounts. There were substantial amounts outstanding, and they agreed to resolve those issues as soon as possible. The municipal outstanding amounts, the invoices, excuse me, the SIU will submit those invoices to me Honourable Chairperson, I will then forward them to the head of the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs with a request that they be submitted to the relevant municipalities to settle them as soon as possible. Insofar as the provincial departments are concerned, I'm fairly comfortable that these matters will be resolved in the very near future because they have been advised of the outstanding amounts and generally, except for the Department of Education, which has a large amount outstanding, Chairperson, as well as the Department of Transport collectively, which has a fairly substantial amount outstanding. I believe that all of these issues will be resolved in the very near future. The SIU has confirmed that they have received our correspondence and that they are comfortable with the process that we are following. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kuhn. Well, I must say that we can see some movement within provincial departments. Earlier on today, we met the Department of Social Development. Although they've not cleared their debt to the SIU, they have paid a fair amount, which is progress. So I think this is good. The concern, of course, is the municipalities. And you'll note that one of the comments from the Office of the Auditor General is that the Office of the Premier has to play its coordinating role and ensure that with COPTA, that COPTA HOD should be brought into the audit committee so that, you know, from the municipal side, there is adequate tracking. I think this is quite a valid issue. But thank you for that report. We note there's still a large amount outstanding. I think it's in the region of 44.9 million, but we'll come back to it. The next report, HOD.
The next one, Chairperson, is the rationalization of public entities, which is going to be done by HOD Kutsie from Provincial Treasury, as she is the chairperson of the technical committee dealing with this matter. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Premier, members of the committee, DG and colleagues. Good afternoon to all of you. There is a detailed presentation, but as the Premier indicated and the Chairperson indicated, there was a detailed presentation done yesterday by MEC Duma. And so I'm only just going to highlight some of the key issues around the resolution. The members will recall that this process started in 2017, and the issue of what we're trying to deal with the rationalization is correcting what is being listed on the Pfma, first of all, where there could be a change in names in terms of the entities. Also, there's delisting of certain entities that don't exist anymore, closing down and absorbing those functions into other departments or into entities, and then regularizing the establishment of Moses Kotane and KZN Growth Fund. So that's really the intention. As we know, the objective of rationalization is to ensure that we can deliver services more cost effectively and to eliminate any duplications. So when we started the process, we're sitting with 24 entities listed there, and we're looking at reducing that number quite substantially through those processes. The Provincial Executive Council took a number of resolutions that were reviewed over a period of time, but in the main, the key resolutions were that the functions of the Sharks Board will be incorporated into Isimvelo, that the liquor and gambling and betting would be merged at a regulatory level. Tourism and audiovisual would be the merging of the Film Commission and Tourism, and the Growth Fund would be converted from the current private trust to a provincial public entity, and the Moses Kotane institution would also be converted from an NPC into a public entity. Under Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, there were a number of entities there as well. Mjindi was to be closed down and the functions transferred to ADA. ADA also needs to be established as a public entity. Currently, it is listed on the Pfma, but it doesn't have any enabling legislation. Then, in terms of integrity, all the shares should be transferred to the ADA. In Pendle and Tambana must also be delisted. And then lastly, the Natal Trust Fund, there needed to be a review in terms of what was the status currently, and to then decide in terms of the winding up and delisting. So those were the resolutions that were undertaken. And then we've also indicated that The other entities, for example, AMAFA, the name changed in the legislation, but it hasn't been changed in the PFMA listing. So that's a small change that needs to be done. We also need to delist the KZN House of Traditional Leaders because we're the only province that has listed the house there, and it's actually not a requirement. In terms of the Zulu Royal House Trust, the Act needs to be amended to remedy certain governance shortcomings that are there. And then the Provincial Planning and Development Commission is also to be delisted, but we're just awaiting certain appeals in this regard. So just in terms of where we are currently, there are a number of governance structures that are required to be established. The first is by the departments themselves, the shareholder departments. In this instance, it's ITIA and Agriculture and Rural Development. They have established a joint management committee that is headed by the head of department, and all the CEOs of those entities are required to be there. This is to ensure there's consistency and that there's lessons learned across the different entities. Recently, they then appointed GTAC, which is an advisory centre from within National Treasury, to assist with the development of business cases. So that was done, and obviously the executive authority of those departments will also guide the process going forward. Then within the institutions themselves, the accounting authorities, the boards, obviously also need to then drive the strategy and give the necessary direction on the resolutions that the Executive Council had passed. And then with the CEOs themselves, they obviously are the critical stakeholders in terms of ensuring that the implementation happens. And they've also set up structures, change management committees with work streams that touch on finance issues, HR issues, organizational issues. So there are a number of work streams that have been functioning and operating, and looking at the two entities to, at a practical level, look at systems like what accounting systems are they using, agreeing on one accounting system. So you're looking at systems, you're looking at operations, looking at policies, because there has to be alignment of policies. And then obviously there are a number of other areas that they will be looking at. Then what they've also done is where you've got two entities merging, the two boards have come together so that they can consider the recommendations coming from those work streams, so that all the documentation and information is ready and is in place for when the bills are enacted. So the recent delays really, with the number of years that's taken, we then got the ROPIC committee structure functioning again. I chair that with the DG, and MEC and Konyeni chairs the political structure. So we've really been pushing the entities. We then have also finalized all the legislation, with the exception of Ezemvelo and Sharks Board. So those have been tabled formally, and they're now with the House, and we're really hoping and pleading that those processes can be fast-tracked if possible. With Ezemvelo and Sharks Board, there were some changes. This was because of national legislation changing around the Ezemvelo space, but they're in the final stage of drafting that, and they've indicated it should be done by the end of the third quarter. Now, part of the drafting of the legislation, you can imagine that for the Film Commission and Tourism, because of the concurrent functions of tourism at a local government level, there needed to be a consultation process. So all the necessary processes around the bills were done into state law advisors, our Treasury certification, and taking it through the clusters and the Executive Council. So that process has been concluded from the government's perspective. So the business cases are quite extensive processes that needed to be followed, and it's required in terms of National Treasury for them to consider the registering and listing of the entities. What we have been indicated is that the National Minister, by the end of October, will be reviewing the PFMA listing based on all the applications that we've made, and will be issuing a new listing, and hopefully it will clear out a lot of the entities that have been established. So just to touch on what is incorporated in these business cases is, first of all, defining the mandate of the new entity, and that obviously has to be reflected in the draft legislation. And then they have to develop a 5-year strategy and obviously the annual performance plan. And included in those documents, as you would know, includes the consolidation of budgets. Then they needed to assess their current status in order to make recommendations in terms of the new entity, and the detailed analysis of the financial implications of the merger. So, for example, if they need to now acquire new offices, that would require them to move. They'd have to set up IT systems. If they're buying a new accounting system, to make sure that they can consolidate. All of these will have financial implications, so they needed to do that exercise. Risk assessment is absolutely critical, because you need to try and make certain assumptions of what could potentially go wrong and ensure that you put mitigating actions proactively. And then on service delivery analysis, again, it's to say, what is the operating model? Are we going to be at districts, for example? Are we going to be in one office? What are the different areas? What are the operational systems that we're going to use as a collective now? So those are very important. Now, the issue then, obviously, they've drafted the key policies. They've drafted a lot of this work. Those will need to still be signed off by the new interim boards that will come in place once the Act is promulgated. Organizational design is probably the most contentious issue, and obviously the intention here is to reduce costs by reducing the number of staff. And obviously, at an executive level, you will see quite substantial savings because you now only have one CEO, one CFO, and obviously at that senior level. Then in the human resource planning, as I indicated, this is really the area that's going to need a lot of support. There are a number of Labour Relations Acts, conditions that are required when it comes to mergers, bearing in mind that each entity has their own HR policies. So it's issues of leave, issues of performance management, job grading, all of those are different across the entities. There's no standardization. So now you're bringing two entities together. There will have to be a consideration around employment conditions and how we deal with that, that it doesn't affect the operations of the entity and that we don't have any labor actions coming out of that process. So that is going to be quite a challenge, but the entities are working very carefully with the unions. The unions have been included in those work streams so that they're taken along throughout the process that's been currently underway. I've mentioned the governance structures that are in place. Obviously now, part of the business case, you need to then make recommendations in terms of the board structure and the various committees of the board. This is also an area that has been a concern of the Executive Council, where they feel that the board fees are quite substantive and the composition is quite large. And so that was an opportunity for us to reduce the numbers. And obviously there's a process that needs to be followed, and it's included in the draft legislation. So these business cases took probably about 18 months, because you can see the extent of work that needed to be done. All of these business cases have been submitted to National Treasury, and they are currently reviewing those to give a preliminary go-ahead for the establishment. So the last things that are outstanding really is to quantify the financial implications and make sure that we're able to implement this. The draft bills, very importantly, make provision for a transition period. It's quite important to understand why we need the transition period. You'd imagine when the bill is enacted, you need to immediately appoint a board and a CEO. So the provisions will be that the MEC would have to appoint an interim board within 7 days of the promulgation. The board will immediately have to appoint an interim CEO and obviously approve things like delegations, opening bank accounts, so that the entity can actually operate. They'll also have to approve an interim structure and the placement of staff against that. So there are a lot of critical operational issues that would need to be considered by that interim board for the entity to start operating. So we anticipate that that interim period will probably be between 6 to 12 months. You can imagine with the HR implications and the migration of data for systems and accounting information, that's going to be really essential. Obviously, also what we'll need to do is then the winding down and closing of the existing entities. So they would have to produce financial statements. Those would need to be audited. They would have to table the final annual report. And all of that information and the carryover and transfer of assets, etc., and the contractual obligations all need to be done during this interim period. So that's really going to be important. And I think there has been some good progress, but we are pushing really hard. And again, as I indicated, we really would plead that the chairperson assists us in ensuring that these bills are fast-tracked through the process. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The next presentation is from the Zulu Royal House Trust on the audit improvement plan, to be done by the CFO, Mr. Buthelezi.
CFO.
Thank you and greetings, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, Honorable Premier, DDGs, and all other colleagues present. Thank you for the opportunity to present our audit outcome for 2022-23 financial year, as well as the progress on the audit improvement plan. So that's the purpose of this presentation. If I may move to the next slide. Slide number 3 just shows the audit outcomes, especially for the 22-23 financial year. We received an unqualified opinion with very few findings this time. But also we want to also take note of that the trust did not receive any findings on the annual financial statements as well as the financial management this time, which is a very improvement. Again, also in the 22-23 financial year, we did not incur any irregular expenditure or fruitless on this year, which has happened for the past 5 years or so. The next slide just shows the summary of audit findings that were raised by AG. We only had 4 findings, of which only 2 findings affected the audit opinion. If I may move to the next slide, which is slide number 5. Slide number 5 shows the progress on addressing the findings that were raised by AG. We have addressed all other findings. The one that is left is the one that relates to the accumulated irregular expenditure, of which on that one also we have made a request for condonation to the provincial treasury. The finding there was that no action had been taken at that time against the officials who permitted the irregular expenditure. Again, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members on this, the report also reflects on this, especially because the people who were found to be responsible for allowing it were the previous CEO as well as the previous CFOs. But also it must be noted that those people are no longer in the employment of the trust or in the employment of government. So it might not be an easy task to implement any disciplinary actions in those. But we will work with the provincial treasury on whatever recommendations they are making in addressing this issue, because the issue of the regular expenditure has been outstanding for quite long now. If I may move to the next slide, which is slide number 6. It just the progress on the condonation of irregular expenditure. After appointment of the internal audit, their first task was to conduct an investigation on this accumulated irregular expenditure. They finalized their report and presented to the board. So we have sent a request for condonation to the provincial treasury. And after some deliberation with them and also their assistance, they have requested some document, and the last batch of invoices was submitted earlier today. So we will wait for the outcome and take it from there. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members.
Thank you, Mr. Buthelezi, and I can see that there is progress here as well. Okay, colleagues, that was the last presentation. Let me now hand over to you for questions, comments, additions, clarification. We'll take a show of hands. I'm not seeing any hands because I think these presentations were very comprehensive, MEC and your team, and we must appreciate that. But there are certain matters that I wanted to raise, just 3 actually, because it has been a very comprehensive presentation and we can see the progress. In the presentation, where I think it was, not sure, but I think it was irregular expenditure, the CFO had said that there was an outstanding balance of 15 million and the invoices had been requested, but they were beyond the retention period. What happens in that case? because, you know, the evidence is not there. And what are you planning to do about that? Then, in terms of the outstanding amounts to the SIU, we note the progress. There is an amount of about 44.9 million that is still outstanding. It's a substantial amount. We'd urge the department to keep track of this. I see Mr. Kuhn has been allocated the responsibility. So we will follow up with you on that. And then in terms of the rationalization of public entities, there's been a comprehensive outlining of the process. So my question would be, when do we anticipate these bills coming before the legislature? Because that will, you know, follow another process which would be a bit long as well, because there'll have to be consultation, etc. Those are my three, and I still can't see any hands. Okay, let me hand over.
No, there's no hands, Chair, because it's Honorable Mchali. I
Yes,
think there's not really much except to say that we must commend the Office of the Premier and the DG for the improvement, Chair. I think if you look at their responses, it shows now that the Premier is running a tight ship. There are clear details that we need, very comprehensive report in terms of the cases and the possibility of timeframes, which is what we've been yearning for. Very proper plans in terms of responding to what was raised by the AG. I think really now we see that the institution of the OTP has really produced a very comprehensive report that address all the issues that we were in the past having concern with, and we must commend them. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mchali and Honorable Mchali, and you are absolutely spot on. You know, this is a clear example of hands-on management. But let's just get some responses, and then I think we would be done. HOD Kutsir.
Thank you very much, Chair. Maybe let me deal with the issue of rationalisation. The bills, in fact, have been tabled in the legislature. They were submitted to the Speaker, I think, the end of last week. So they are with the legislature now, and I think it then needs to be processed through the ETIA Portfolio Committee. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, so thanks for that, because we will then follow up as SCOPA with ETIA to check where and what is happening. Thank you very much. Okay. And then in terms of this retention period, the 15 million approximately balance being beyond it, what's going to happen there? Ms. Klengwa?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I mean, it's to respond to that Chairperson, where documents cannot be retrieved on the basis that they are no longer there and they are beyond the retention period of documents. As a department, we are still engaging our internal records management in terms of obtaining evidence of those disposals, so that we present them to the coordination committee at Provincial Treasury for their consideration. What perhaps can happen, a coordination committee would then recommend or would recommend the submissions to be considered by the accounting officer, where accounting officer can use on a discussion in terms of removing those transactions from the register, where there were no losses or financial losses incurred by the department. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think I've been covered by Carol, but just to say to the honourable members that yesterday I did meet the Chair of Chairs of the Legislature, Honourable Mavimbela, as well as the Chief Whip, and they committed that they will be impressing upon the Portfolio Committee to quickly start the process of the legislature for the bills. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Honourable MEC, because this is something that really has been going on for a very long time, and we've seen the negative impact of it on, in terms of staff morale, but also in terms of employment policies. Because I know HOD Kutsia will know that the difficulty they had in the Film Commission, trying to get staff and all of that in a period where you were in rationalization. So thank you very much for that. Once again, Honourable Premier, we must commend you and your team. This is a very good piece of work. We mustn't get away from the fact that you've received a clean audit, which is excellent. You are leading by example in this province, and that's as it should be. We also note the progress and the detailed reports that have been presented, which are not just paper reports, but showing, you know, the way forward and what is being done and what is going to be done. So thank you for all of that, and thank you to your team. I think we can close this hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson and honourable members. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. We
Thanks,
are now
Chair.
closing the hearing. See you guys next week.